Heather. I'm a GAPS practitioner and a nutritionist and a mom. And I just wanted today to talk about a few things that kill healthy gut bacteria. So maybe you're doing the GAPS diet, maybe you're not. I almost didn't do this video because I felt like, it's maybe really obvious or simple, but I think actually a lot of people probably don't know some of these. So I'm just talking about 10 things that kill your beneficial gut bacteria and leave you in a place with a compromised immune system. And these are worth knowing because unfortunately, they're so commonly a part of our culture and just the way we live and eat and carry ourselves. And the first one that is terrible for your gut bacteria is the birth control pill. It absolutely kills beneficial gut bacteria and leaves a place where negative bacteria and yeast overgrowth just thrive. And the worst thing about the birth control pill is it's not something you take once and then you recover from. It's something that you take every single day, and some people take it for decades. So it totally decimates your good bacteria, and I would highly recommend not being on the birth control pill for that reason. The second one is antibiotics. This may be obvious to some people, but when you take oral antibiotics or have an IV injection or whatever, antibiotic means anti-life, antibacteria. It kills life in your gut. It kills all the bacteria except for yeast and Clostridia. So basically Candida and Clostridia, which makes an environment where everything that's keeping them in check is killed off. So then they totally die. The yeast and everything totally thrives then. So it's really, really bad. Avoid antibiotics unless it's necessary. Sometimes they're life-saving, but almost all the time they're not. Oh, you have a UTI, take antibiotics. I'm like, no, I'll take cranberry juice, please, thank you. Okay, filtered water is essential. So unfiltered water is something that kills healthy gut bacteria. Most unfiltered water has chlorine added and fluoride added, both which are terrible for your bacteria. They literally kill bacteria. That's what they do. That's what they're created to do. And so every glass of water you're drinking antibiotics basically with it. So and not only is it chlorine and fluoride in your water that kills that, it's if you have like lead or copper or whatever piping, or you get your water from a well, or whatever it may be, it's likely to have heavy metals and contaminants. My roommate in college studied environmental studies, and I will never forget, ever. She did a paper on the water system in Southern California, which is where we lived, and they recycle water there. It's not clean because it's basically a desert, Southern California, so they have to recycle water. And they, the town council or whatever filters it, but the top two contaminants in filtered water. Gian, she's crying. The baby's crying. Or at least go in there and shut the door. That'd be great. So number 3 is unfiltered water. So unfiltered water almost in every area has chlorine and fluoride added to it, which kill your bacteria. They're antibiotics, they are antibacterial. That's why they're put in there, to kill bacteria. So it's not good for our gut. And not only chlorine and fluoride are in water, but unfiltered water often has toxic metals from like copper or lead piping. There's so many things in it. There can be arsenic in water commonly as well. So I'll never forget this. My roommate in college, we lived in Southern California, so she did a paper on cleanliness of water in Southern California because she was an environmental studies major. And I'll never forget, she did this paper investigating water, and in Southern California it's basically a desert. It doesn't rain, rarely ever, so they have to recycle water. They're not getting fresh water. So the top 2 contaminants in water that came out of the tap before it was filtered through a proper filter, so this is like the town saying, clean water that you are able to drink. The top 2 contaminants beside chlorine and fluoride, which they wouldn't even consider contaminants, they would just consider healthy additives. The top 2 contaminants were the birth control pill and steroids. So not only are you getting chlorine and fluoride with every glass of water you're drinking that kills your bacteria, you're also getting the birth control pill and you're getting steroids and pharmaceutical drugs. So, you need to get a good water filter. Just crazy. So unfiltered water is terrible for your gut. Okay, the fourth one is non-organic produce. Fruits, vegetables, grains, beans, whatever you're having, it needs to be organic. Pesticides in pretty much every form, insecticides, pesticides, what's sprayed on our produce is antibacterial by nature. It's an antibiotic. Glyphosate is the main chemical in Roundup, which is the hugely common GMO, Monsanto created pesticide that's sprayed through most of agriculture, industrial agriculture, and most people spray it on their lawns and everything. That was originally attempted to be patented as an antibiotic, like a medical treatment, and it was denied, but it still is an antibiotic by nature. So you're trying to build healthy gut bacteria, and every bite of non-organic produce, you're getting antibiotics, basically. So make sure your produce and everything is organic or spray-free local as much as you can. Or the Clean 15 Dirty Dozen list, if you haven't heard of that, there's a list every year that gets put out by, I think, the Environmental Working Group, and it tells the Clean 15 is the cleanest fruits and vegetables. Like, even if they're sprayed, they have the least amount of pesticides on them. And then the Dirty Dozen are the ones you definitely need to buy organic because they have the most pesticides on them, like per I don't even know, per pound. I'm just making that up, but the most pesticides on them. Okay, sugar and refined carbs. These 100%, they feed overgrowths of yeast like Candida. They are not beneficial to your gut bacteria. They are not beneficial to anything, your immune system. They're not beneficial to your health, but they definitely feed that yeast overgrowth, fungal overgrowth, and should be avoided. So they're not good for gut bacteria. They're very irritating as well. This may be obvious, but in a COVID world that we live in, hand sanitizer and antibacterial soaps. So our gut bacteria is in our gut, but we have a microbiome all over our body, including our skin, and it's really essential to protect it. So hand sanitizer strips that protective bacteria, as does antibacterial soaps. So I would really suggest avoiding those as much as possible. They're not healthy, they're not good for you. They're not protecting you from the C word. Non-organic dairy, and meat, non-organic dairy and meat. So animals, cows, chickens, whatever, if they're not organic, they're given routine antibiotics in their food and in their water. They're eating GMO foods, so they're eating pesticides. They're getting antibiotics just in their feed every day to prevent diseases because they're usually given a ton of hormones to create an excess amount of milk. So they give all these hormones so that they create more milk, and then their teats and everything get pussy and bloody, so they have to give them antibiotics to keep giving them hormones. It's disgusting. So with every bite of non-organic dairy, conventional dairy, and conventional meat, you're getting antibiotics, you're getting pesticides, you're getting genetically modified foods, which don't just magically disappear. They stay in the meat, unfortunately. Farm-raised fish. This is something most people don't know, but farm-raised fish per pound are given the most antibiotics out of any animal. So farm-raised fish, they're not out in the wild. They're in a cage, basically, a big one. And they're fed just these pellets and antibiotics. So in the water, just antibiotics and pellets all day. Really not healthy. Their nutritional profile is so low with farm-raised fish compared to wild caught. It's so low. And yeah, you're getting a ton of antibiotics from those farm-raised fish. And then finally, the last one is weed killers. So we love our amazing, perfect lawns in America. And so many people spray Roundup and weed killers all over the weeds to try to get that perfect, beautiful green lawn. And it's just so toxic. And when you spray it, you can smell it everywhere. And not only are you spraying it on, the grass, people are walking on it, people are coming into contact with it with their skin, they're breathing it in. But then when you get rain, the rain washes it out into the rivers and everything. So you're just getting these terrible, nasty antibiotics. Because like I mentioned, Roundup is the natural pesticide or weed killer that is made of glyphosate, they tried to patent that as the antibiotic. as like a pharmaceutical drug. It got denied, so now they just spray it on food and on lawns. So glyphosate is in that weed killer, that Roundup that so many people spray on their lawn. It's just absolutely toxic. It's an antibiotic. It's not good for you. It's terrible for your bacteria, and it contaminates our rivers and our lakes and our oceans when it rains. So hopefully you learned something from some of these, maybe the farm-raised fish. I know a lot of these are common knowledge, but if you're working on healing your gut and you can't maybe do the GAPS diet, but you just want to get a head start, this is the place where you get a head start. Even if you can just get off the birth control pill, that'll be such a great step in the right direction. Or get yourself a good clean water filter like the Berkey. That's what I use, and it's great. We have fluoride filters, and they also remove arsenic and then all the chlorine and everything. It's one of my essentials. Like, I couldn't live without it. So hopefully these things were helpful and help you a bit on your journey, and thank you for watching my video. Hi, thanks for watching my video. You can feel free to comment or like below, or you can follow me on Instagram or on my website.